So in a little over a week, the Yankees, rosters across the major league expand, and there'll be a couple new spots potentially open for the Yankees. Now, keep in mind what's going on right now. Gio's working his way back. So is Gleyber Torres. So is Corey Kluber. Those seem to be the three most obvious guys who have a chance of coming back. I don't know if Kluber is going to make the postseason roster, based on how the starting pitchers are pitching right now. But that said, there's still a shot that he can. Now, where it becomes a little bit more interesting is when Gio and Torres come back, because think about it, they're going to have to move two people to let them, back on the roster, first of all. And there's been a rotating kind of cycle of these guys, whether it be Greg Allen or Jonathan Davis, and a lot of the bullpen pitchers, and just a combination of guys, Rob Brantley and Estevan Florial, but they call up for a few days here and there and come back and whatnot. So, and there's still a couple of guys like Zach Britton's out right now. They sent them on the IL for elbow inflammation, and they called up Clay Holmes, I think, is coming back from the COVID IL, so he'll be essentially reliever for reliever. But when the rosters expand, there's only going to be about two spots available. And who seem to be the most obvious choices? There's so many guys that can potentially come up. I mean, you have Esteban Florial, you've got Greg Allen, right? Pitchers too, Kluber, but then you have Luis Hill, who's still down. Right, they sent him back down a couple days ago. So, who in the world, and I'm not even counting Severino. I don't see him personally. I don't see him, Andujar, or Clint Frazier returning. And I said this in my podcast last night, my live stream. And just because, the setbacks that they're having, they're not going to have any time to build up any type of momentum to get back to the postseason roster here. And who are they going to replace if they do? They're not going to replace Odor. They're not going to replace Velasquez. If they're all playing well, it's not going to happen. Who are they going to replace? That's the other thing. They have so many guys right now, like I mentioned, Odor. He's been clutch. The Yankees have him on the cheap. Velasquez is a jolt of energy here. And then some of these young relievers, Steven Ridings and Clay Holmes has been good since he's been acquired. So the Yankees are firing on cylinders with their premier players, and even on their less notable players. Tyler Wade has become like a super utility guy, and he's batting .400 since the All-Star break, and not going to move him. So, who in the world do you move up? When they expand roster, if they call up two guys, you don't have to call down two guys, because then that wouldn't be a roster expansion. So, that leaves a couple of spots open. And I've said this, my two candidates would be Greg Allen and Luis Hill. You bring him back, and you give him, I think there might be kind of just lessening some pressure off of him for a couple weeks, so that when the rosters expand, he'd be positioned to be on the playoff roster, whether it be starter or reliever, long reliever. And I think he has good value, and he's got poise, he's got a big arm, he's got good command, control. So I think him and Greg Allen, who's I think he has one more option left, so he's got to come up and play. And he was solid. He gives the Yankees, I'd like to have a bench of, like a Tyler Wade, a Greg Allen, and then you have Odor on there, you have Higashioka, and it's probably going to be Brett Gardner, because I think he's going to finish out the season and then probably Walker they'll have a Yankee day or something like that for Gardner. So I think this is going to be his last year, at least with the Yankees. And personally, I think it should be, even though he might have a little bit of baseball left at him. He's been playing pretty well recently, but the Yankees need to give, these kids like Estevan Florial and, Trey Ambergy a chance. And they have Tim LeCastro, who's going to be coming back from ACL, recovery as well. So they're going to have a lot of reinforcements in the outfield. Plus, they also have versatile players in the infield, and they have stud position players coming up, and Anthony Volpe and Oswald Peraza, and they're not going to block these guys if they keep playing the way they're playing. There's no way. Okay? There might be a chance Peraza moves out, but to me, the most obvious choices are Allen, because he can play all the positions. He's versatile and a switch hitter. And is kind of an outfield version of Tyler Wade, who's an infield-outfield guy. And Luis Hill, another arm. They might rotate in and out with relievers to keep the arms fresh, but Luis Hill seems to be the most obvious. So, who are you two guys? Because remember, the roster's no longer 40. I wish it was like 30 or 32, but it's 28 now, and it's already 26. So there's only a 2-person expansion. So I'm thinking Hill and Greg Allen, at least are my 2 guys that the Yankees will probably and should probably call up for the remainder of the postseason run, and gives the lineup in the outfield and positional versatility. It gives the rotation and the bullpen another shot in the arm. While guys like Zach Britton work their way back from being on the IL, and again, it gives them a young arm. Yeah, I don't really know what to expect from Domingo Germán. Don't know what to expect from Corey Kluber. Gio Urshela looks pretty solid now in his rehab. Gleyber Torres I kind of go gingerly with because it's a thumb thing. So, it can go either way here. But those seem to be the most obvious and probably the most useful pieces for the Yankees to call up when the rosters expand. Who do you think? Give me your insight. Tell me who you think they should call up, because I think it'll have the most bearing on what they do moving forward, and to preserve the kind of momentum that they're having. I think those 2 guys are the most best positioned to help them continue this momentum. You can now give Gallo a break, or Stanton a break, or Judge a break, and I've said this repeatedly. Gallo needs a day off every 2 weeks. Judge and Stanton a day off every week. You need a rest. You give a guy like Greg Allen a shot, okay? Florial, I love Florial and Allen, but you have Brett Gardner here. So, out of respect to Gardner, I think they're going to keep him. And if he's young and he's got boatloads of options anyway, so Allen does not. So Allen becomes, to me, the first obvious choice to come back up. And he played well while he was here. When he gets opportunities, just like Tyler Wade, now that he's getting more regular playing time, he's playing really well. Really well. So he's an underrated player for the Yankees, an underappreciated player for the Yankees. So, he deserves a shot, and he's taking advantage of it. So, and I think that Greg Allen is probably the perfect guy to not only help Tyler Wade continue backing up infielders and other players, but again, it gives the outfielders a break. And he seems to me, he's a switch hitter, so it gives Boone flexibility with the lineup, kind of mix and match and things. He could be a situational guy. He's fast. He could steal bases like Wade. So we need a couple of speedy guys on the team. I don't think Jonathan Davis will probably make the postseason roster, but I could see Allen making it. So, or at the very least, the roster expansion. So, my 2 guys again, Greg Allen, Luis Hill. Who are your 2? Volpe, he's shooting up like a rocket, but it's not time yet. Oswald Peraza is shooting up still, not time yet. Eventually it will be. I think next year, they'll probably make some waves next year. But these are my 2 guys. So, who are your 2 guys? Let me know who you think, because it's important. The roster expansion's coming in a little over a week. So it's time to make some decisions here. Who do you got?